All right, so if we'd had the couple of months, we'd have spent a lot of time talking about strategy and tactics and what the relationship is between a strategy and a tactic. Basically, the strategy is the big picture, how you're going to win the entire campaign, and a tactic is a very specific action you're going to do that helps the campaign. So as Larkin was explaining with spheres of influence, I've been connected to people who've been trying to protect the Massachusetts state forests from not being cut. They've actually been working on it for a pretty long time, but they're getting traction, I guess is the right word. So they're suggesting, and I think this is tactically a perfect example for you to understand how a tactic works. They're saying we should defund this particular program at the state level, which is called the Management Forestry Program. And it's under the Department of Conservation and Recreation. So the goal here is to try to save the forest. And we want to be very specific about what our tactic is. So we want a clear and specific ask that you're going to bring to your senator and representatives. Strong reasons for why this is the thing we're asking for. We're not the only ones who are going to be asking. There are at least a couple hundred adults who are going to be doing this also. And if you do exercise your sphere of influence, even more. And there are other tactics, other asks that are being implemented in the direction of this campaign. And this is an easy thing that we can do to ask other people to join with us. So defund the DCR Management Forestry Program. We're asking our senator and legislator, House of Representatives, to do this now, to take it out of the budget for this upcoming year, for 1 year, just defund it for 1 year. It will save money in the state budget and it will protect the public forests. So why this particular program? Well, it helps us with two very important goals. To begin with, they are just crazily going to be trying to figure out how to make the budget smaller because there's been such an impact from the coronavirus and the pandemic precautions. They have to cut billions of dollars. So this helps them. We're suggesting an area where they can do something that they already know they need to do. Going after this program inside DCR because they are logging 1,000 acres a year. Their plan for 2020 is 1,000 acres that they're going to cut. And there's a link there. When you get the PowerPoint, you can click through if you want to read that. But that's their plan for this year, and this is what they do every year. Another reason why this is a good program to target is because it's not going to affect that many people directly in terms of their work. We think there's only 11 people that work in the Management Forestry Program, and they can all be reassigned for this 1 year of no budget. So it's targeted. Our ask is targeted. This program is only in DCR. The Management Forestry Program is not, there are other programs. It's not everything that DCR does. It's only one thing they do. Something that everybody needs to understand is when they say management, what they really mean is logging. They've got a lot of nice language, but a lot of it is a euphemism, right? It's a nicer word to kind of hide the thing they really mean. They mean logging when they say management, and they're making a basic assumption that logging is an ecosystem service. And I bet all of you know very well that logging is not part of what the natural world does for humans. Logging is something humans do to the natural world. So also just to be clear, because if you go looking, you'll find a lot of information. There's another division in the state government called the Division of Wildlife and Fisheries, or Mass Wildlife, and they also do logging. But we're not talking about them. We're only talking about the Management Forestry Program in DCR. So there's still going to be logging that happens. And that's actually, we're not saying stop all logging everywhere. We're saying stop this particular part of the logging. for 1 year. And DCR is just one of these 7 different branches in this larger executive department of energy and environmental affairs. So it's actually quite realistic that we ask them to just shift those people over to doing other tasks. There's a lot of things that they can be doing with their knowledge that haven't been being done that are super important. So we're saying, please write a letter to your senator, Senator Comerford, and your representative, and ask them to defund the management forestry program and tell them why. If you don't know who your legislators are, there's a link here, and you can find that also online. So you'll have to write a persuasive letter. And the kind of tactic this is, it's actually an example of lobbying. So when you write your letter, you'll give a respectful greeting, introduce yourself, ask them specifically, defund the management forestry program, tell them why this is a good idea, tell them why this matters to you, ask them to be accountable, to let you know what they do. What is their follow-up? Do they talk to somebody? Do they share your letter with people? What is it that they're going to do now that you've asked them to defund the management forestry program? And then thank them for their time and sign with your full name, full address, and the date. And hopefully Tim's going to be able, or your teachers are going to be able to get copies of these letters for us. So 1,000 acres a year is what the DCR is cutting. How big is 1,000 acres? So this is a picture of where, and this was a year ago Easter. And this is nowhere near 1,000 acres. This picture might have 1 acre showing, perhaps. But to give you a sense of the scale, for example, Crocker Farm, the elementary school, has 12 acres with the buildings and all the grounds. 83 Crocker Farm territory would compose 1,000 acres. Fort River is a little bit smaller, 11.5 acres. It would take 87 of all of Fort River to compose 1,000 acres. Pelham is a lot smaller, 2 acres. It would take 500 Pelham schools, but that's how many trees they're cutting down. That's how big this area is. It's 758 football fields that they're cutting down every single year. So all we're doing right now, we're just asking them for 1 year, stop, defund the program. DCR manages 20% of the Massachusetts forests, which is 11% of the land here in the Commonwealth. So if they're chunking away at that 1,000 acres at a time, that's really bad for our forests. So remember, an effective tactic is very specific and targeted. It has strong reasons that you can justify and explain. It's done with a lot of people. The more who do this, the better. And it works in concert with other tactics, not against other tactics in the same campaign. And it's something that you can inspire a lot of people to do with you. So after you send your letters, share them with the people in your spheres of influence. Ask them to write letters too, and you can even give them yours as an example. So that's the tactic that we think has the most power and potential for you to do something right now in the next week or two, and then maybe through the summer if you want to keep trying to get other people to write letters. We could win. There's a chance we could win. And that's how social change happens.